I'm Oliver Rennick, reporter at The Bond Buyer. Today I'm here with Mark Palmer, an equity analyst covering financials at BTIG. Thanks for coming in, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
So Mark, we recently are coming off some pretty big news in the insurance space, which is the upgrade on Assured Guarantee and the announcement that MBIA's National is going to be coming back into business soon. That's coming after a year we saw market penetration tick up a little bit for the first time in almost a decade. So the question is this the critical year for insurers?
I believe it is. What we have now are all the pieces in place for an increase in demand in bond insurance. And I think that's a function of a few things. First and foremost, where are interest rates going to go? If, as some believe, the 10-year is going to go from 2.6% to something in the mid-3s or even 4%, that would create an environment that would be great for bond insurers. The problem for the last number of years has been that it really hasn't made a lot of sense for a municipality to pay up for bond insurance when their funding costs are already so low. Mm-hmm. So if their funding costs are suddenly rising, they may be a lot more sensitive to the impact on their funding costs. Hence, bond insurance may actually make some sense for them.
That's a good point, because I think there's a lot of participants in the market that are wondering about, the value of bond insurance. Even if let's say you're a new market participant in the past 4 years, bond insurance hasn't really been a big role. So to kind of clarify, what is the value proposition that bond insurance has? And what is the value that it provides for an issuer and for an investor?
With regard to issuers, it's really a couple of things. First and foremost, as I indicated, it's funding costs. It's bringing your funding costs down. At the end of the day, that is the number one reason to buy bond insurance, is to borrow the credit rating of an insurer and hence pay less in interest expense. There are other benefits as well, though. One of which is enhanced market access, particularly for smaller issuers that otherwise might not be known by the typical municipal bond portfolio manager. Being able to come to market with credit enhancement can make the difference between a successful offering and a less successful one. From an investor standpoint, I think that the recent experience in Detroit shows exactly what the value is of bond insurance. Back last year, when Kevin Orr was he was the emergency manager for Detroit and ushered the city through bankruptcy. Right. When he brought together creditors to discuss what his plan was going to be, there actually were municipal bond portfolio managers showing up saying, "Well, we're going to the meetings, but we feel fine because our bonds are wrapped." That alone, I think, indicated just that peace of mind that comes from knowing that you've got insurance and that you're going to get fully paid out in terms of your interest and principal payments being covered makes a big difference. But it goes beyond that. I think there are a couple of other great examples of this. If you look at what happened recently in Detroit with the mediation that occurred between the city and bond insurers with regard to the issue of the treatment of unlimited tax general obligation bonds. The settlement, I think, in most people's eyes, was very favorable for the bond insurers. Right. Whereas Kevin Orr had been offering first 20 cents and then 15 cents in the dollar, the bond insurers came away with 73 cents in the dollar. Right. Moreover, as a consequence of the bond insurers getting involved, they avoided what would have been an ugly precedent if unlimited tax general obligation bonds had been treated as unsecured, which is what Kevin Orr had been seeking for them to be treated as. Right. That would have created a precedent that would have affected the entire municipal bond market. And frankly, a large part of the reason why it didn't occur was because of the legal efforts of the bond insurer.